And tonight on our Great American Panel, he's an editor at dailycaller.com, Fox News contributor. Tucker Carlson is here. He's worked on 3 U.S. presidential campaigns, dozens of Senate, gubernatorial, mayoral races all around the country. Democratic strategist Steve McMahon. She is a former reporter, host on Fox Sports, and currently the host of the great one, Mark Levin's favorite program, NBC's Poker After Dark. She's a model, TV personality, and a great American. How many times have you been to see the troops?
16, 14 to Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah,
all right,
they're great.
I am not of the school that, you know, we need somebody who doesn't necessarily want to run. I think Chris Christie's doing a great job, but if he doesn't feel it's the right time, I don't think we should draft somebody, because I think we have good candidates. But the one thing that Christie does have, that I think every candidate, every official can learn, is he's got this fight. Let's watch this.
You don't send your children to public schools, you send them to private schools, so I was wondering why you think it's fair to be cutting school funding to public schools.
Hey, Gail, you know what? First off, it's none of your business. I don't ask you where you send your kids to school. Don't bother me about where I send mine. Secondly, I pay $38,000 a year in property taxes for a public school system, predominantly in Mendham, that my wife and I don't choose to utilize because we've decided as parents that we believe a religious education should be part of our children's everyday education. So we send our children to parochial school. Third, I, as governor, am responsible for every child in this state, not just my own. And the decisions that I make are to try to improve the educational opportunities of every child in this state. So with all due respect, Gail, it's none of your business.
Ouch. I love that.
I love Chris Christie's straight talk, and I think that's what most Americans love about him. He has a backbone, which a lot of our politicians don't. When you ask him a question, he says, none of your business. You know, it's not against the law to send your kids to private school, and he's honest about that. And if he feels like he can afford it and give his kids a better education, that's okay. I actually admire that in him. I love Chris Christie.
Well, liberals have pretty much pushed God out of the public arena anyway, so you can't. So he wants God in his children's lives, and unfortunately, he's like a lot of people. He has to pay twice for school.
Well, I actually thought that, you know, you call it personality or chutzpah or whatever. I call it thin skin. And one of the things that he's going to find out if he ever does want to play on the national stage is you can't take the helicopter to your kid's baseball game, and you can't tell voters that they're stupid, and you can't yell at voters and tell them it's none of their business. By the way, I don't begrudge him. I don't begrudge him sending his kids to private schools, but I do think that slapping down a caller who's a constituent and a resident of New Jersey who pays taxes and had a legitimate question is inappropriate for an elected official, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican.
That's exactly what it's going to take to fix the country. Our problems are so profound that whoever would fix them is going to have to look right into the camera and say, no more middle-class welfare. Entitlements must not be reformed. They have to be. No, but it's going to take someone who's a bit of a psycho,
I agree with you.
Actually.
Well,
to do that. I'm not kidding. Someone who's not going to, like, split the baby and be like, oh, we're going to make cuts in 50 years. No, we're going to cut your Medicare. I'm sorry. We're going to have to because the country's going to be bankrupt if we don't. And only someone with this temperament can pull it off.
Well, I don't think that's true, because you see people in Washington right now. Joe Biden's meeting with them every single day. Democrats and Republicans. No, they're talking about cutting entitlements.
It's been a total complete wimp and missing in action on the budget.
They're doing what Republicans want, but they're also looking for reductions in corporate welfare, and they're looking for some defense cuts. And I think all those things are things that most Americans think it's time to do. It sounds like the same political crap
that got us into this mess. They're going to meet. They're going to have committees. They're going to have the group of 6, the gang of 12, the gang of 90. And you know what? They've screwed it all up, and now the very people that screwed it up, we're looking to fix the problem.
Right, exactly. And, you know, they're going to keep throwing money at things that we don't have. They're going to try to raise the debt ceiling, and they're going to do these things that are really going to crush us sooner than later. And it's a sad, sad thing, and it's terrifying.
You guys watched the Huntsman interview. Do you think, what did you think, Tucker, from your perspective?
You know, I think he's really impressive. I think he's articulate, he's accomplished, he speaks Mandarin. I mean, I'm impressed. The press loves him. I have to say, I am struck by the fact that as I travel around and talk to primary voters, that there's not that enthusiasm yet.
For one person.
For Huntsman specifically. Now, that may change. He announced today. Who knows?
Only 35% of Republicans know him.
Bingo. Right. That's exactly right. However, the measure, and let's just not forget this, is not, you know, the measure is how primary voters feel about these candidates. That's all that matters.
Steve, who are you most afraid? We got to run, but who are you most afraid to run against as a Democrat?
I think the most competitive Republicans would be Huntsman or Romney or Pawlenty. I think the rest of them are not going to be very competitive if they're nominated. I think Barack Obama will beat any of them, but I think those 3 will make it a very tough and very difficult race for the president.
All right, we have a tradition when Leeann Tweeden is here. She throws us out. We're going to have more with our Great American Panel coming up Watch this throw.